and First Lady Anastasia Richardson. And we're from the Emmanuel Church of God in Christ. We are building upon a solid foundation.
The quote of the day is, "Don't be afraid to be outnumbered. Eagles fly alone, pigeons flock together." Here are your trending topics for today. With about a quarter of all Americans having received at least one dose of the COVID-19 virus vaccine, about 13% are fully vaccinated. Doubling down on safety measures now is what could help curb another surge. If we can hang on in for 1 month or about 6 weeks, that's going to make a huge difference. However, air travel is hitting the pandemic era records, and spring break crowds are swelling. In Miami Beach, officials have declared the state of emergency on Saturday. In response to the crowd, the mayor says, have been more than we could handle. At least a dozen of governors and multiple local leaders have eased restrictions this month, while several have done away with the mask mandates altogether. Those are your trending topics for today. I am excited about my guest, who is a Milwaukee native who has transformed her education and career around real estate. She is a real estate broker in 4 states, which includes Wisconsin, Georgia, Florida, and Illinois. She is a real estate instructor, a real estate investor, a coach, a mentor, trainer, keynote speaker, author, and a new real estate developer, and so much more. Help me welcome back to Warriors Talk, Tamara Mutri. Hello, Tamara.
Hello. It is so great to be back again.
Yes, I am so excited about the topic on today. Again, we're talking about real estate investing, and we also threw in a bonus. We're going to talk about extra streams of income. So if you are tuning in, please like, share the show, invite somebody else in on the show so that they can get this valuable information. So Tamara, we're talking about investing, and we know that a lot of people have just gotten that stimulus check. We just got our taxes. So we really don't have an excuse to say we don't have the money to invest. So we're talking about real estate investment. What would be the reason for investing in real estate, in your opinion?
Well, part one to this is there's so many reasons. I could just go on and on, but the main reason is to create generational wealth and to create a legacy for yourself and your family. One of the main reasons why we should be doing it is because it also helps family members who have children that may want to go to college. And if you can invest by purchasing properties to help you pay for that college, people don't think of that as being a wise strategy for them to look into, so that the money will not have to come out of your immediate pocket when it is time to send your children to college. One of the most important aspects of a person buying a home today as a first timer is they are looking at your debt to income ratio. And as it relates to that, we need to try to fill in the gap and try to find a way to not have our children laden with a bunch of debt. So doing this and purchasing real estate is one way for you to compound on that strategy and gain a bunch of ROI, your return on your investment, that you can save for your children to go to college. When I speak to a bunch of families, I always ask them how many children do they have. And if they tell me 3 or 4, and I tell them, well, you need to buy at least 3 or 4 houses then. That's one for each child. If something happens to you, your child will have a home. If something happens to you, these children will be able to have this home, which will build equity over time. And that's one other good reason why we should be looking into investing in real estate.
I totally agree with you about the student loans. I have been talking to my girls about not taking out student loans, but looking for alternatives so that when they do go to buy a house, they don't have to be discouraged, by having all of this student loan debt. So I just wish somebody had told me, so many years ago on how to handle it. Now, thank thank God that I have favor and things are working out as it relates to the student loans. But, just imagine all of the people that are sitting there saying, I can't do this because I have all of this debt. So why we're not teaching this to, why my parents didn't teach it to me, but I'm gonna make sure that I teach it to my kids.
That's so important, Rochelle. I'm glad you made those comments because a lot of us are taught to think to just be workers, and they don't teach much of being bosses and being business owners in school today. And I think that is one major problem that we have in society is us thinking that we are supposed to just work for someone, and that's supposed to be it. We were taught to go to college, get a degree, and now we're laden with all this debt. And a lot of people can't even pay the debt back because a lot of the times when they graduate from college, they don't even have enough money to pay back those debts. But guess what? Buying real estate is one way. We're supposed to be getting these properties so that they can take care of some of the liabilities that we have. It's important that you try to drown out whatever liabilities that you have. If you've got a vehicle, then you buy a property and you have 2 tenants, then your tenant can pay for one of those liabilities, and you just keep compounding on that. And there's different ways that you can invest in real estate, and it always doesn't have to do with you going to the bank to do these things. There's so many different investment strategies that you can use, which is what I'm going to touch on. As soon as you start asking me my questions and letting me know what I should be telling everyone, because again, investing in real estate doesn't always have to be going to a regular bank. There's a bunch of different investment strategies that you can use that don't involve the bank. And there's also other lending platforms that can be used in order for people to invest. And a lot of people always say, well, I can't do this investing because I don't have enough money. That's normally what the problem is. But there's a whole lot of other things that you can be doing to build capital in order for you to start doing some real estate investing, which I will also cover today.
Well, let's start with that question about, a lot of people say, oh, I don't have the money. But then I've heard that, oh, you can do real estate investing without money.
Well, to be honest with you, when they say it's without money, there's all types of ways that you can do this. And that means building capital by getting people to learn about what it is that you're doing, and also having what's called a credit partner. And I hope everybody has a pen and paper here because I'm dropping some real gems today. A lot of people wouldn't even be talking about all of this stuff because a lot of times they want you to pay for the information. And best believe that I do have courses that will be paid courses in the very near future. But for today, I'm giving you all the gems for you to get started and giving you my information so you can reach out to me if you don't know who I am or whatever. But when you don't have the money, you need to get a credit partner. A credit partner may be able to get lines of credit. You may be a homeowner already, and maybe you have a bunch of equity in your property that you didn't even know existed and you didn't tap into it. There's a bunch of people that don't seem to understand what a cash out refinance is, or a HELOC, better known as a home equity line of credit. Now is a good time to be tapping into that. Maybe you have an interest rate on your current mortgage that might be 5 or 6%. Well, the going rates now have been between 2.75 and 3.75. So if you can lower your interest rate and you can also pull cash out of your property, that's one way that you can pull money out and use it for investing. The things that they talk about when they say don't use any of your own money, they're talking about private lending, hard money, and they're also talking about actual people who are rich and they have nothing to do with their money, and you partner up with them and you give them a good return on their money. So there's a whole bunch of ways that you can get a plan of action together. There's a lot of this stuff right on Google that you can find on how to build capital for yourselves if you don't have the money. And again, if you do have some money and if you can get the money, You can also borrow it from friends and family, again, the same way you do the private lending with the private lending platforms that are out there. You're also able to get friends and family to go in with you on these projects. Oftentimes, when you start real estate investing, you may not have the money, but if someone else believes in you that does have the money, that's exactly one way you can do it without the money, is by partnering with someone who has it. And then a lot of other people say, well, I have the money, but I don't have the credit. So that's another thing that we get hung up on, is that my credit is not good enough, because a lot of times the lenders want a 660 credit score. So one of the ways that you can compound that is that you need to be able to find lending partners that will not look at your credit. There are some lending platforms out there that will look at only the asset, and it's called asset-based lending. Asset-based lending only looks at the asset that you're working with, and they don't necessarily pull your credit to do so. A lot of people don't know this, but a lot of the lending platforms out there only prefer for you to do your lending in your LLC, in your corporation or your LLC. And they do pull your personal credit, because obviously not everybody has a business credit score, but they will not report this debt on your personal credit, which allows you to do many other things, because this property will not be reporting on your personal credit, which is great.
Okay, so I have a question. So if I'm planning on getting property, multiple units, should I be getting an LLC to do this?
Absolutely. And in fact, Rochelle, that's an excellent question. I'd like to say that any attorney will tell you the best way to have these properties structured, as in land trusts and LLCs. I just prefer the LLC because it's kind of simple and easy for you to do in your state. And there are different fees that are involved with you putting these LLCs together. But as in Wisconsin, it's relatively simple and easy for you to do. But the biggest picture here that I need to address is getting people to understand why you should have multiple LLCs. So, Rochelle, I don't know if you know the answer to that question, but I'm going to ask you, why would you think that we might want to have multiple LLCs for our properties?
That's a great question. I don't know. So I guess you have money coming from different ways.
Well, you will, but here's the situation that everybody doesn't seem to think about. A lot of us are putting ourselves on the line, which is our person, our names. And if something happens, they're coming after us. So we need to be able to protect ourselves from our businesses and our business names as it relates to this. Now, let's break this down a little bit further. Let's look at my situation. I have 20 doors right now. I used to have about 50 doors back in the past, and I liquidated and started all over. But here's the situation. If something happens at one of those properties and you have it under one of my LLCs, the name is Improve Milwaukee LLC. And if something happens, somebody slips and falls, God forbid, you're supposed to have insurance on these properties. But only one property is under that LLC name. If you get sued and taken to court, they're not suing Rochelle. They're suing Improve Milwaukee LLC. Now,
so if you have everything under there, they can go after all of those companies that you have under that LLC.
All of the properties.
All the properties. Okay. Right. I get it.
Now, so that's why you would have different LLC names, so that if something happens at that one property, they cannot take all of your assets. Like if you have 5 different properties under there, well, whatever the settlement ends up being, they may be able to take all of your assets. But if you have, like me, Next Level Real Estate, you got Improve Milwaukee LLC, you got Milwaukee's Best Real Estate Services, you got Nationwide More. I have tons and tons of LLCs, and I do my best to try to keep all of my properties separated. And there's a lot of people that feel like that's a headache, and that's really not the way to do it, but it's the way that I'm doing it. You can get an umbrella policy, and a lot of lawyers like for you to do land trust. That's the most protection, our land trust, but LLCs are more simpler to do, and I prefer to put each property in each LLC that way.
Okay, if you are just tuning in, we are live on Intellectual Radio talking to Tamara Mutri, and we're talking about real estate investing. And trust me, she's dropping some gems. So I hope that you guys are writing this down. She talked about why invest in real estate, and why to even do investing. She talked about generational wealth. She talked about paying for college, and she talked about even pulling that equity out of your home, so that your kids can go to college or whatever it is that you want to do with that money. She also talked about if you had no money and you want to invest in real estate, she talked about getting credit partners who don't look at your credit. She talked about private lending and even borrowing money from friends and family. So I hope that you guys are getting this information. We do have comments. Ilea Simone said, yes, my husband and I want to invest in real estate. We are a young married couple working on building generational wealth together. That's awesome. This is really the time to start because they're in their early 20s. So this is really the time to start doing all of that stuff so that by the time you get my age, you can sit back and you can reap the benefits of everything. So I think she's learning from me. Hey, Kenya, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you. For those of you who are tuning in, like and share the show so that don't be stingy with the information. Let somebody else get it. Ilea also said it is better to, I guess this is a question. Is it better to own something like owning an apartment building or I guess this is a question. Is it better to own something like owning an apartment building or to do like a service Airbnb to start where you're renting out your property?
Any type of investment is going to be better than what you're doing now if it's nothing. We've got to do something. Now, here is my philosophy on apartment buildings. There are a lot of people that have different investment strategies as it relates to Airbnbs, as it relates to single families, as it relates to duplexes, and I'll give you my personal opinion on all of it. It's back to the LLC situation. If you've got an apartment building and something happens to that apartment building, guess what? That's that one asset there. Me personally, I prefer to have multiple properties and multiple sites because if something happens at that one property, that's that only one property. And I have all my other scattered assets elsewhere. But there's a lot of people big on having a whole bunch of apartment buildings. Keep in mind, those taxes are going to be extremely high on those apartment buildings. That's going to be taking a lot of your bottom line and your ROI for you having common areas that you have to pay for in those apartment buildings. There are some investors that only invest in single families. And you may ask why, and I'll tell you. With single families, you only have that one family there. You only got one furnace. You only have one hot water tank. You only have one family's attitude. Let me tell you, there are some landlords and real estate investors that only prefer single families because you don't hear from them much. They stay in the properties longer. You can still profit well off of a single family because, again, one of the utilities that you don't have to be responsible for if you do things right is the water bill. It's very much like that's their own property, so you don't have to be concerned with paying for the water bill for that property. They're paying all the utilities. They're paying the water bill. That's not on you. So that's one reason why a lot of new landlords and a lot of real estate investors, they know that guess what? It's not going to be that much squabbling going on. Like what I have going on with one of the properties that I manage with one of my out-of-state investors. Oh, the lady downstairs, she has a broom and she keeps on bumping the ceiling. She's opening my mail. She didn't shovel her part. You know, you don't have to worry about all of that kind of stuff when you have duplexes. Yes, it happens, and sometimes it doesn't happen. But when it's all said and done, lots of investors like the duplex. And I'll share some of the pros and cons about the duplex. You just heard one con. You got two families, you got two hot water tanks, you got two furnaces, you paying that water bill most times. Lots of landlords are starting to now split that water bill between the two tenants. If it's in that lease and it's allowed, then it's on the lease. But one of the benefits of having a duplex is if one person isn't paying, you have another one that is. You end up with your cash flow coming out of there. The con for the single family is if they stop paying, well, they stop paying. There's no other income to support that mortgage if you have a mortgage on it and they stop paying. But with the duplex, you got two people. So that's two chances for either one of them to pay and take care of that mortgage. So that's if you have a mortgage on it. I own a lot of my properties free and clear, which free and clear means that I don't have many mortgages on. With the 20 doors that I have, I think only 3 of the properties have mortgages on them. That's a very, very good position to be in. That means that I can come back, I can go to a private lender, I can yank 50,000 out here, 50,000 there, and I can pull money together. I can keep scaling up and I can keep buying. Listen. It's more than just being a homeowner. It's all about being an investor and scaling up as much as you can. One of the other reasons why I wanted to tell you that you should be doing this is because this is your retirement. Don't forget about that retirement. How many of you feel like that we won't have any Social Security when that time comes for us to retire? I'm buying as many properties as I can. And even if I have to sell some and come back and buy some more, like I've done before, where I started from the bottom and now I'm here and I'm back going up again. The reason is because if I can scale and I can make $10,000, $20,000 a month off of my rental properties, then that's what I'm going to do. And I have the property sitting there with no mortgage on a lot of these. I will go back and pull some to continue scaling up. But the beauty of doing this is you will have not only do you have cash flow, but you have equity, and these properties are continuing to appreciate. The goal is not to pull all of your equity out of all of your properties. The goal is to maybe pull some equity out of a couple of them and keep some of them free and clear, because then you're just flat out cash flowing on them. But I'm telling you right now that you setting your future up now to scale up and buy properties, you'll be able to live the type of lifestyle that you want to live later on. And again, it helps with your children's college fund.
And nobody wants to pay all this money for college and be in debt. So we talked about the single family home and the duplex. So do you feel that people that know how to consider themselves like the do-it-yourself type of person should be doing this investing, or it doesn't matter? You don't have to have that skill necessarily. The do-it-yourself type of person.
Oh my goodness!
Because if something go wrong, you got to run over there and try to clog the toilet or hire somebody to do it.
That's such a good question, and I'm glad that you brought that up. And then I'm going to come back and touch on the Airbnb, because that was her question about the Airbnb. I'll touch on your question first, and I'll go back to the Airbnb. But I work with a lot of out-of-state investors. And you say out-of-state? What in the world? Why are these out-of-state people buying in different states? And a lot of them are not even coming over to even look at the properties. You want to know why? Because they are in states where you cannot do this. Our numbers are low and the returns are high. And with that being said, they want their money to stretch further in the other states. They don't want to pay $350,000 for an investment property. With $350,000, Rochelle, they can come over to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and they can buy 5 properties with that. Well, think about it. 7 times 50. If it's $50,000 a piece, that's 7 properties for $50,000 a piece. That's $350,000. So why in the world would they get one investment property in, say, California, New York, or Massachusetts, or one of those, Connecticut, when you can come over to Milwaukee, Wisconsin? You can go to other states and do it too, but Milwaukee is a booming place for you to get a decent rent. I bought a property last year right during the pandemic. And a lot of people, they don't know what that BRRRR method is. But that Burr method is a cold piece. I'm going to come back to that Burr method too. Don't let me forget, Rochelle. I got to tell them about this Burr method. It is so cold. I'm telling you. There's a lot of people that are in a group that I go to a lot of Facebook groups, and I network with a lot of different people with the finance and piece and everything. But that Burr method is cold. I'm going to get back to that. Let's get back to that Airbnb. And then the other thing I was supposed to touch on was the property management piece. The property management piece, as far as you being brand new, sometimes if you work a regular job, that might not be your forte to be working with tenants. It really depends on what your personal goals are. A lot of people who are just starting off, some of them self-manage, but if they're working and they prefer not to deal with tenants, they will hire a property manager, which is what I kind of have. Is a one-stop shop. It's a concierge service. I have a one-stop shop and concierge service for all of my landlords, whether they're in state or out of state. And I take them from the acquisition to the financing if they need it, to the tenant placement services, to the property management services. I mean, there's so many different ways to assist. Oh, to the rehab part, to the renovation part, all of it. That ties in to the multiple income streams that I do, which I have at least 17 of them. To have 7 is what they tell you should have to become a millionaire. And I have at least 17. So y'all already know what I'm doing. So I'm going to just leave it right there. But back to the Airbnb, and I'm jumping around a lot. That's my ADD kicking in, but I will come back to it. And I'm going to come back to the Burr. I'm trying to keep everything on track, but I know you're following me because you're some sharp people. Let's talk about the Airbnb the young lady was asking about. You have to make sure that you're buying these properties for Airbnb in the right areas. But I want to talk to you about some other different ways that you can do an Airbnb-like property. And it doesn't have to be Airbnb. There are flight attendants that need a place to stay when they land. Lots of flight attendants and flight crew have decided that they didn't want to be in hotels per se, and they have like flight houses where they are staying overnight, or they're staying for a week, or like that. They come and they stay in your home too, and they even have websites for that. Another thing is travel nurses. Travel nurses, they come and go all the time. Sometimes they're in a specific city or state for a number of weeks or a number of months. You can do your Airbnb and you can rent it out to corporate people and corporate places. Maybe someone is coming in town for business and they have to be in town for a couple of months. You can rent your place out like a corporate rental instead of it being just Airbnb. These are all the ways that you can keep your Airbnb place full. It doesn't have to just be people vacationing from out of town, but you do want to find an area that's lucrative enough, and you can do your own research right on Airbnb.com. Go and look in certain cities that you might think that you want to invest in, and all you have to do is look and see how booked these places are, and that will tell you where you should be investing at. Keeping in mind that I can help you in Georgia, Florida, Wisconsin, Illinois. Florida is one of the hot spots. There's all kinds of beaches there. I mean, it almost is a no-brainer. Here's one thing that a lot of people don't know about this investing. Hello, are y'all ready to go with this? Homeowners, people who are not homeowners, let me tell you something. Even if you don't live in the state, you can buy another property, single family or condo, with 10% down in another state. It's called a vacation home, AKA second home. What did I say? I said vacation home, AKA second home. A lot of people don't talk about this, and I'm not understanding why, but there's plenty of people that do this. I'm in Milwaukee right now, and I see a lot of people with Florida plates. What in the world are they doing here? Well, guess what? It's finally the weather is trying to break. And people are here from Florida because they know it's about to get too hot there for them. and they split their time between 6 months and 6 months. They call us snowbirds. And those snowbirds, they have a place, and they probably rent it out when they leave, because there are some people that just can't stand the heat. But when it gets too cold, they go back down south. When it starts to warm up, they come here to the Midwest so that they can be cooler. But you are able to put 10% down, and it will be a vacation home for the Airbnb purpose or the other purposes that I mentioned. Doctors, business people that come in town, flight attendants, pilots, any flight crew. Those are other opportunities for you to keep your Airbnb full. And there are other sites that have come about now. Vibro, VRB, Verbo, VRBO. And even still, I don't know if people know this either, but even Priceline and Hotwire, they're allowing people to put their properties on there too, just like you a hotel. They charge you a booking fee for doing it, just like Airbnb does or whatever, but you're able to put your properties on there, and people may not want a hotel, but if they see your spot or your house and it fits what they need, maybe your place might have a pool on site. Maybe it has a play area and you made a vacation and brought your kids. Now it has a play area. You do not have to just subject yourself just to that Airbnb, but it's only 10% down. A lot of people always think about that 20 to 25% down. I mean, in Milwaukee, you can get some single families for $50,000 and less. That's 10% of $50,000. That's only $5,000. And of course, you have some upfront costs and things like that. But $5,000, a lot of people got way more than that back in Texas. They should be looking, trying to find something out of state that they can invest in. So when they want to go, that's the beauty of this. You can block off a time slot for yourself. So if you and your family want to go and visit, then you have that slot available for your family. And all the rest of the days, you can rent the place out to corporate individuals or to vendors or whatever. So again, Florida is a hot spot for that.
Wow. We're talking about real estate investing. And I had a question about what was your opinion on the real estate investment groups?
On the real estate investment groups is any and everybody needs to get to be a part of everything, because they teach you a lot. They're called RIA groups, and they have meetups and things online too. Go to meetup.com.
I think Tamara is frozen a little bit. She's going in and out. But at meetup.com, you can look up different groups that they have, and you can join these different groups to where you can be with like-minded individuals in those groups.
There are. Went out for a second.
Yeah, it did. Go ahead. I'm sorry. You were talking about the investment groups, and you was talking about meetup.com.
Meetup.com. There's a bunch of Facebook real estate groups right on Facebook. Even LinkedIn has a lot of people that you can network with, talking about real estate, talking about private lending, talking about the Burr method, talking about wholesaling. Wholesaling is another way to do this real estate investing without using your own money. I've done it. Subject to, I've done it. Subject to, I can touch a little bit on the subject to. I can give you an example, and I can also give you the example of that Burr in just a minute. I haven't forgotten. I'm going to keep talking about that Burr, because that Burr is some cold stuff. Listen, I talked the Airbnb. I touched on the wholesale, and that's a whole nother story. You can get on YouTube. That's another place that is really going to educate you. There's a bunch of YouTube videos. In fact, I'm on there. If you want to look me up on YouTube, I got a ton of podcasts talking about different real estate investing. But that subject to is cold. That's another investment strategy. Subject to. Oh, and seller financing. Do you hear what I'm trying to tell you? There are so many other ways that you don't have to use a regular bank. People got tired of the regular bank.
Okay, I think she's froze again. If you are just tuning in, we are live on Intellectual Radio, and our topic for today is real estate investing. And we're also going to get into extra streams of income, which is what she's already talking about.
Too many hoops.
I think you have froze again. Tamara.
Okay. I don't understand what's going on here. Can you see me? And can you hear me?
I can see you and hear you fine.
Okay. All right.
I had a question about getting the knowledge that you need before you start investing. Like, how important is it to get a mentor who's already doing what you want to do before you just jump right in?
I say that people should do a lot of research on their own because mentors can be expensive. And again, people who don't have the money, they need to just get as much knowledge as they can for free out of the Facebook groups, YouTube, and everything else until they start building capital. Oh, excuse me. Listen, I got to put the plug in. Wait a minute, y'all. The plug is becoming a real estate agent. Realtor, listen, if you really want to invest.
You freezing up on all these gems that she's trying to get out. I hope that you guys are writing this information down. You can also, if you are a woman, she does have a Facebook group for the top women in real estate, but it's only for women if you want to join. She also has a 6 months to home ownership on Facebook, and that's a group for men and women. I'm sorry, go ahead. I was telling them about the Facebook groups that you have that they can join.
I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm having such a bad connection today. But just hang in here with me. What I'm saying is, again, the Facebook groups, everything that you are accustomed to going to LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook groups, just learn all you can. You have to do your own due diligence and do your research and listen to what people are saying in these groups. It's a lot of great information out there for you to, kind of get some background knowledge and learn yourself. It's not always about a mentor, even though I do have mentor services. And I'm not going to lie to you. My mentor services start at $150 an hour. But I'm always dropping knowledge and gems, and it's not going to be some BS, okay? It won't be. And the reason for that is because I've been doing this for 17 years. I had 50 doors before. I liquidated, I started all over and came right back. And I'm looking to be probably back up to 50 doors by the time this year is up or close to it. I said I was going to go back to talking about subject 2. Subject 2 is code, another code piece. Subject 2 is when a person decides they want to walk away from the property. They want to walk away, but there's a mortgage there or there's back taxes there. I just picked up a property like that. $6,700. I know you
wait,
like
for
what?
For the property? It went over my head for a minute. For the property?
I said $6,700. This was a subject to property. There's several different subject tos. One involves you being subject to a mortgage. It could be subject to liens. It could be subject to back taxes on the property. And what I've done for this family is I said to them, I tell you what, you in a spot, I got you. The property was about to go into foreclosure because it was 4 years of back taxes against it. I paid the 2 years up that would stop it from going into foreclosure. $6,700. They said, if you don't have this in the office by February 10th, I just did this February, then it's going into foreclosure. No mortgage on the property, but there are liens, okay? And there are some more back taxes. But your girl here knows how to get rid of the liens. I know how to renegotiate the liens, either settle the liens or get them removed completely, of course, because I have a lot of knowledge with helping people with their credit and things like that. So I know how to get certain debts and judgments and things off, especially when they're fake. So some of these judgments and things are fake because they're junk debt buyers, and those junk debt buyers have no business trying to sue people because they don't owe them anything. So this subject to deal that I did for $6,700 is in Milwaukee. The property is worth about $90,000. A side-by-side brick townhome with 3 bedrooms and 2 baths on each side. I just went over there today. I didn't see the property. I did this way back at the beginning of February, and I'm just now going to look at the inside. I didn't see the other side, but I saw one of the sides. It's all brick and side by side, 2-car garage. Look like new roofs on the garage and the house. They just want to be done. And again, this is a property that I will be able to pull cash out of. I own it free and clear. Here we go again, free and clear, no mortgage. And another property, one other example I want to tell you about, two other examples I want to tell you about. One is I bought a property last year. Oh no, let's see, 2.5 years ago from someone. And he walked away. There was a $64,000 mortgage on it. So you know how that is. I tried to sell the property. He really wasn't listening to me about the price. We were in a softer market that time. A soft market means when it's not like it is right now, where it's a seller's market. So it was a buyer market at the time, and it was soft. So you couldn't be putting your properties at a high value at that time. When it's all said and done, he walked away. I took on the mortgage. I started making the payments. The way you do a lot of this is by doing a quick claim deed. Quick claim it into your LLC. Now you own the property. But you got to take everything that comes along with it. And there is due diligence that you need to do with doing this. You don't just do the quick claim deed and just make it happen like that. You have to make sure that there are no large judgments and liens. I did my homework, even though it was the last minute with that $6,700 property. And I saw the liens on there. But you know, if it's a good deal, I don't damn care. If it's a good deal, why do I care about those liens when, you know, I know how to get them off? And even if they don't come off, I'll settle with them, have them take us. It's a good time to settle debts and things. During this pandemic, you should be doing all you can to settle things. But with this deal that I had, $64,000, he walked away. He moved to Arkansas, overnighted me the deed after it was filled out, notarized it, got it recorded, and I'll just make it short. Me and my husband last year, when the pandemic first started, we pulled $50,000 out of that property. We ended up with an appraisal of $155,000. We pulled $50,000 out of that property. And as of today, right now, I just looked at the property. The property is now worth $190,000. We have a mortgage. We have a mortgage now on the property of $116,000. I'm about to put that property up for sale and get the money out of that. But let me tell you what I did with the money. So my husband took 20 of the money and he paid off some of his credit card debt, and then he put the rest in the bank. Me, I took the 30. I went and bought a property for $5,000, and I bought another property for $25,000. On the $5,000 property, you know it need everything. Come on now, it's a shell. It's a hole now. It's a shell. It needs everything. Just the point that I could buy a duplex for $5,000. And even though it needs everything, don't forget, I got all these other free and clear properties that I can pull cash out of to fix it up. I can still keep it free and clear if I want to after I fix it up by pulling cash out of the other properties to do that. Now, the one that I bought for $25,000, I put 10 in it. When I bought it, it was worth $80,000. If I did a 70% loan to value out of it, it would be a $56,000 loan. Let me tell you what, I'm getting $1,400 a month in rent. It's a duplex in an up and coming area that I never thought I would buy in, because people are always funny about buying. They claim in the hood. I say in the hood where it's good. Hey, I'm not afraid of the hood because everyone needs a place to stay. When it's all said and done, people still have to work. This place is not far from downtown Milwaukee. It's on the cusp of an area where it's up and coming, and they're doing a lot of gentrification in these areas. One of the zip codes that people don't like to buy in. When they say they don't want to buy in that area, because I will, because I'm looking to change the narrative, and I'm looking to change the makeup of the neighborhood, and I'm bringing other investors with me who want to change the neighborhood, change the properties, have our people living better in those neighborhoods. And now guess what? Everything that I wanted to happen is happening on its own. 53206, they made a movie about it. 53206 is an up and coming zip code. I don't care what nobody says. I've heard investors say, oh, well, we don't buy in that zip code. And I'm like, good. Because I have investor friends of mine that are buying in that neighborhood. And so am I. I'm doing it. And the rents and the returns are good. Oh, that property that I bought for the $25,000, put 10 in, getting $1,400 a month. Can I tell you what the taxes were? You're not going to believe it. My husband paid the taxes. The taxes on that property was $425.
Wow.
Not a month, for the year. Now, if I did this 70% loan to value, I haven't done it yet because I've just been too busy. But if I pull 70% out, that's $56,000. I'll go on the high end and say that the lender might charge me $6,000. That sounds excessive. Maybe $3,000. Let's say $3,000. If I walk away from this deal, I will have $53,000 back in my pocket again. Let's just use the number 50. Look at what I did. 70% of 80,000 is 56. Let's say that they take 6. I got 50 back in my pocket again. With a $1,400 a month rent coming in, 7 up and 7 down because it's a duplex. My mortgage probably won't be more than $450 a month with everything included, okay? But I'm still getting $1,400. Who's paying the mortgage? It definitely isn't me. I'm not paying the mortgage. So listen, I still got equity in the property. I still have the cash flow in the property. And I turned around and took my money back out that I put into the property, which was the 35, the 10, the 25, the 10, which came out to 35. And then I turned around and I got an extra $15,000 coming out of that property. That's the BRRRR method. I told you I was coming back to it, didn't I? The BRRRR method. B-R-R-R and R. It's 4 R's. Buy, renovate, rent it out, refinance, and repeat the process. I got all that money back. It's back in my pocket. Now I can turn around and reinvest that money into another property and do it all over again.
So Tamara, what would, in your opinion, where would you suggest someone to start as it relates to real estate investing?
Again, making sure that they learn everything that they can about it on their own. They need to definitely learn all they can about wholesaling. If they want to get into that business, it's pretty complex. People think that it's kind of easy, but it has a lot of moving parts, and you have to have a team in place. And if you don't, then you have to maneuver through that. There's all kinds of groups on wholesaling. Get in those groups. Make sure that you're on YouTube for sure. There's a lot of people that have money. One of the best things to do is contact me if you want to invest. Because remember, I'm helping with the acquisition. I'm helping with the rehab part of it. I'm helping with the funding part of it. One of the big things that I need to bring up about the funding part is making sure the credit score is there. And I have been talking with the different lenders about bringing down those loan amounts, because you are able to buy a single family at $50,000 with these investors, and you need 20% down. But if you look at what 20% down is, well, 10% of 50,000 is 5,000. So 20% is 10. If you have that, you can buy a property for that. That's 20%. You have some incidentals and some fees. But again, here you are with a $50,000 property that you might be able to rent out between $950 and $1,200 a month. Yes, that is common in Milwaukee. You can get away with that. You can do that. And some of them are duplexes too as well for between $55,000 and $75,000. And some of the lenders have gone down to a 600 score. Let me tell you one of the best features about doing this financing. These no-doc lenders, let me say that again. I said no-doc, private money lenders. There's no income documents. So you don't even need a damn job. You don't need a job. The reason is because they realize that the banks have taken us through too much. So they said, let me look at your credit. We'll put it in the LLC, but let me look at your credit. Let me see those bank statements. But as far as pay stubs, W-2s, and tax returns, they don't care. They don't want to see that. They want to see what is the property going to be bringing in. Again, it's partly asset-based. And they do a lot of fix and flip loans too as well. There's a numbers game dealing with fix and flip people. That's another strategy that I'm just now touching on, that fix and flip, where you fix the property up and then you put it back on the market to sell it. Unfortunately, the market is really bad right now, and we don't have too many properties to do like that. But I don't care. You can still find good deals in any market. It ain't stopping me. I got 110 off-market properties right now in Milwaukee, and I'm looking to get them all off to the ladies in my real estate group. And there's another real estate group I just did a live in last week. I know she's probably mad at me now, but I haven't gotten around to getting my list and to talk to them more. I just talked about real estate investing in that group, and she wanted me to come back in that group to let all of those ladies know that they can buy these properties. And again, a $50,000 single family with $10,000 down, like I said, a lot of people get that back for taxes. And a lot of people are looking to open daycares. They're looking to open group homes. This is your way to do it without looking at your tax returns. People who are not able to show their income, maybe their tax returns have too many write-offs and they're unable to get the kind of home that they want. Go no doc, but you got to buy it as a business. You can't buy it in your name. Most of the lenders do not want to lend to you in your name. And it's pretty much primarily about what I explained, is that it's less liability if it's on you, your name, than it is if it's in an LLC. You know what people do when their businesses go under? What they do? They go and open another LLC and start a new business. And we can do the same thing.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tamara, for sharing your wisdom, dropping your gems. If you miss it, I'm going to ask that you be kind and rewind, because she did give us a lot of information as it relates to real estate investing. We did not touch on extra streams of income, so we're going to save that for a different show, because I know a lot of people want to hear about that, because I want to hear about that. So I appreciate you just coming on week after week. Month. Every single fourth Monday, she comes on and she dropped these gems. And so I'm asking her to come back next month on the fourth Monday so that we can talk about the extra streams of income, since we didn't touch on that. So thank you again, Tamara. I appreciate you so much for just sharing your wisdom, because I know that you don't have to, and I know that this information costs, but I appreciate you for being obedient to God and just sharing what you know. So
absolutely.
So for those of you who are tuning in, join me next Monday right here at 6 p.m. on Intellectual Radio. As always, thank you for tuning in to Warriors Talk with author and founder Lady Rochelle, where we are changing lives one warrior at a time.
Thank you for listening to this week's edition of Warriors Talk with Lady Rochelle. To find out more about Warriors Talk, follow at Warriors Talk, the number 1, on all social media outlets, and Warriors Talk with Lady Rochelle on YouTube. Please join us next week and every Monday evening at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time on IntellectualRadio.com for Warriors Talk with Lady Rochelle, where we encourage, educate, and empower you into action.